So this is my Knitmaster 6500 Super Plus. It's from sometime in the early to mid 60s, I imagine. If I just take the Ribmaster off slightly at one side, you'll be able to see model 6500 Super Plus. British made, apparently. Just pop the Ribmaster back in. The Ribmaster just fits in with two pins, and they just sort of click in at either end. So this is the Ribmaster and this is the Knitmaster. You can see that. Knitmaster, Ribmaster. So the instructions that I'm going to give you in this video will apply to the Knitmaster 4500, 3500, the 6500 and the 7500. In the case of the 6500 and 7500, we need to remove the yarn ball holder and the yarn feed on the front of the carriage. We need the tension to be on 1, both these knobs down, the lever on the right there to the front on the Knitmaster carriage. I'm going to reset my counter there to 0. On the Ribmaster, this lever wants to be at the top. The handle you want in the down position. There should be a slight little gap there, and I've got it set on the tension that I'm going to use for this yarn, which is double knit. Now we've got our Ribmaster attached, we need to first of all make sure that before we select any needles, that the Ribmaster needles that we want to use are open. It's a lot easier to do it now before you start selecting needles. Okay, so we're going to bring the relevant Ribmaster needles up into working position. I haven't got a needle pusher on hand, I'm afraid. And then we're going to select the alternate needles on the main bed, making sure that we select the right one, as you can see, so the two Ribmaster needles come up in between it. Because you see, if I'd selected this one, it would collide with the Ribmaster needle. We don't want that. The end needles always have to be on the main bed on this machine. Just going to select every alternate needle on the main bed. I'm using 40 needles. Okay, so now all I'm going to do is I'm going to go across with the main carriage and line the needles up. That also opens the latches. I want the main carriage on the left. I'm going to run this across twice on the Ribmaster to line those needles up. And this is what we should have. All the latches open on both the main bed and the Ribmaster. So we're on tension 1, tension 9 for this particular yarn on the Ribmaster, but we don't need that just yet. And I'm going to show you what's called an alternate cast on. And this cast on is not in the instruction book, but this cast on is the sort that you would find professionally on knitted garments. And it's known as a circular cast on a metal bed Japanese machine. So I'm going to set the camera up here and then I'll continue with the cast on. So I've got the end of my yarn here and I'm going to wrap it around the cast on eyelet at the end of the machine to hold it in place. I'm going to lay it across the Knitmaster needles, and I'm on tension 1. I'm going to take the Knitmaster carriage from left to right, and that catches all the yarn in the hooks and under the sinkers. Then secure the yarn to the opposite cast on eyelet for the next step. And before I show you the next step, I'll show you what we've got here. So as you can see, all the Knitmaster needles have picked up the yarn, and it's just caught in the inside the latch on the Ribmaster needles, and it's caught the yarn under the sinkers. So now what we need to do is pull the Ribmaster needles down as far as they'll go, like that. So now the yarn is caught in the Ribmaster hooks, but the yarn that's caught on the Knitmaster needles is behind the latches, and that's what it should look like. So I'm going to take the yarn off from the ball end off that cast on eyelet, and now I'm going to lay it across the Knitmaster needles, and those are the only needles we have knitting at the moment. Make sure that the end of the yarn is caught under that very last sinker next to the edge needle. We're going to increase the tension from 1 to about 3. I'm going to knit 2 rows. Catch it under the sinker, lay it across, and knit the second row. Just going to put that out the way, and I'll show you what we've got here. So here you can see the stitches that we caught originally on the Ribmaster are still in the hooks, and we've just knitted 2 rows on the main bed, and this is how it should look. So now we need to push the Ribmaster needles up as high as they'll go, so all those stitches are behind the latches, and we need to push them back down again into working position, so the latch is just touching the stitch. So we need to have the Ribmaster carriage set at the relevant tension for the yarn, for the ribbing, in my case tension 9. I'm going to increase the tension on the Knitmaster carriage up to tension 9. I find with double knit it helps if you have both carriages set at the same tension. So I'm just going to release the yarn from the cast on eyelet at the left side here, and just let that hang down the tail end. So again, catching the yarn under that first sinker, just there, lay it across, and you have to hold it sort of back. You don't hold it down like this, it needs to be back, so all that yarn is going to catch in those Ribmaster needles. So then we go across with the Ribmaster, and we just want to sort of hold the yarn, not loosely but slightly tensioned. It's sort of Goldilocks. So we holding the yarn back like this. We take the carriage across smoothly on the Ribmaster, and what has happened is you can see that all the stitches have knitted on the Ribmaster, and the yarn has just looped over the Knitmaster needles. And as we go across with the Knitmaster carriage, you can see it knits off all those stitches, and that is your first row of ribbing. So I should have reset my counter, but I forgot, so I'm going to reset it now and advance it by 1 row. So I'll put the camera back down and I'll show you a few rows with the machine. So just before I continue here, the key thing to remember when using the Ribmaster attachment on one of these vintage Knitmaster machines is that when you lay the yarn across, you make sure that you catch it under the end sinker, or should I say the sinker next to the very end needle. And when you lay the yarn across, make sure you're holding it back towards the needle butts on the main bed, so that all the needles on the Ribmaster will catch the yarn, and lightly tension it through your fingers as you move the Ribmaster carriage. And we always move the Ribmaster carriage first, and then we go across with the Knitmaster. So I'll do a few rows here and you can see the process. Never go too quickly, just take your time. If you go too fast, you'll find that stitches start looping when they should be knitting. And always make sure when you lay this yarn across that all those latches are open. Sometimes they have a tendency to slightly close. They don't fully close, these Ribmaster needles, because they're spring loaded, but sometimes, if you can see that there, that's slightly closed, and if you don't notice, you can just lay the yarn across and that stitch will drop right off, and it makes it quite difficult to pick up. So I think you get the idea. So I'll knit a few more rows and I'll let you see the sample. So as you can see, I've knitted 50 rows, so I think that's enough of a sample. And I just wanted to give you a bit of a tip if you're trying to release the work from the machine without casting off or transferring those stitches to the main bed. If you go across with the Knitmaster carriage first and release all those stitches, you'll have a real fight getting all those stitches off the Ribmaster. So run the Ribmaster first and then the Knitmaster. You can just reach under here and pull that away. Now of course this will need a bit of a stretching, just bear with me a second. There we go. Nice even ribbing. Sorry about this. It's nice, and it's got a different look to it. It's almost got like a fisherman's or English rib look, the ribbing knitted on these vintage Knitmaster machines. It's very nice. And there's our cast on edge. Look nice, that as the cuff of a sleeve or the welt on the bottom of a sweater. The instructions for casting on in the instruction book for this machine tell you to do a double bed E-wrap cast on, was what we would call it on a Japanese machine. But you can also do an open cast on with the Ribmaster, which is something you can't do on any other ribber as far as I'm aware. And you don't need weights on these machines, of course, because they have these sinker springs that move up and down, which the carriage moves them. You can see that. It pushes them up and down as the carriage knits the stitches, and these are what push the knitting down, so you don't need any weights at all. You can short row to your heart's content like it's going out of fashion, and you won't need to put any weights on. Brilliant for tuck stitches or any sort of short row shaping. It's really handy. But anyway, I digress. There we go. That is how you do 1x1 rib on a Knitmaster 4500, 6500, 7500, 3500. You get the picture. One of these old ones. So, thanks for watching, and hopefully you enjoyed and found this informative. So there we go. I'll see you again soon. Thanks for watching.